Awesome. We're rolling. Everybody, thank you guys so much. We had, of course, some technical difficulties, and this is the way of the world. Everybody's doing Facebook Lives nowadays. Everybody wants to get a voice. Everybody wants to share what's going on with them. So I'm super excited that we were able to get Martina on with us. Like I was telling everybody, she has a controversial podcast, and it's not really controversial, but again,
Not really
the
controversial. It's
people
just
who don't like talking about sex, they don't like talking about, touchy topics, this might be a little triggering for them or uncomfortable. So if that's you, feel free to log off now, because we are going to be talking about some topics that people don't really talk about a lot. So, and again, being a wild woman, I like to go there with things. So I'm just
yeah.
super excited that Martina, you were able to, because we've been talking about this for a long time. And even the
Yeah.
fact that, the podcast even happened, because this was something you and I spoke about back in the day, which is, having more conversations like this,
Yeah.
putting it out there. So tell me how this all came about, this idea.
So me and my girlfriend, so the podcast is not just me talking about my experiences, it's me and my girlfriend. We typically talk about food. We have a lot of conversations on food, sex, and relationships. And we're like, one day we're like, oh my God, you know what would be a great idea is if we had a podcast and talked about these conversations that we talk about and have other people like tune in. However, we did not expect it to be something that everybody kind of like related to. Well, most people, well, a lot of people. I wouldn't say most people, because I mean it's still a work in progress. But like, some people actually related to it, and we're like, oh my God, the support that we've gotten from that podcast has been crazy, and I appreciate each and every one that tuned in and that helped make this podcast like a thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about, and I mean, even the title. What's the title of this podcast?
It is called Hungry and Horny. Uh, so basically, we decided to just talk about like how we named it is that it's food and sex. So like, just food and sex. That's how we decided to name it. And so we came up with Hungry and Horny, and so far, it's been good to us. Like we actually like it. So yeah.
So, okay, so when you're talking, okay, so what is the objective of the podcast?
So we, like I said, is basically conversations that my girl and I have. And we thought that, if people tune in or people listen to it, it might actually give an insight. Like maybe if you're going through something, we're not the only ones that are going through it. And mind you, we also talk about relationships as well. And we talk about how to like unlearn, learn, and relearn. And it's something that we need to do considering most of us has been through like major traumas in the past relationships, in our past relationships. So like we're supposed to be, well, the objective of this is to learn and relearn together, you know, have
Yes,
people tune in and have like, we have to have conversations about this.
yeah.
Because I mean, if we don't have conversations about it, then nothing get resolved, you know?
Right. Absolutely. And again, because you and I have kind of, planted these seeds, we've had these kind of conversations. I think we are under the same understanding that, um, everything that is, a current reality, whether it be relationships, whether it be, your career, whether it even
Mhm.
be your relationship with your own body, if you're not willing to go to those scary dark places, and normally everything that is a physical manifestation like in our outer world is something usually that's
Mhm.
internal, right? So I think
Mhm.
you and I are aware of what this is and why it is important to talk about these type of things, because again, a lot of us live in those silos. We were brought up religious, Catholic,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
we don't get to talk about these things
Yes.
in an open dialogue and the way that we should be. And for a lot of people, it's something that they keep to themselves. It's a private area. But for those who don't know nothing about this, that's why having a platform like this and conversations amongst ourselves is going to be beneficial for us all, right? So tell me about a little bit of like what were the findings that came out of you guys doing this type of podcast.
So I'm so I talked about my personal relationships and also sex. Like, so we talked about how we're able to like, we actually like, well, I like, what is it called? S&M and bondage.
Mhm.
It's something that I don't know how it came about to be, but I quite enjoy it. So, well, not the, I wouldn't say the deep, heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that is a bit whoa for me,
We're not
but
talking about details here, but yes.
for the deep, heavy stuff, because I mean, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not there yet. But I like the little bit of the teasing, the tying up, and it's just a way for me to spice up my sex life. And also we talked about masturbation, and masturbation is something that we don't even talk about as people, and we're supposed to masturbate. We're supposed to masturbate. If you don't realize, if you don't learn about your own body, how do you expect somebody to come in and to teach you something about your body?
Mhm.
You're supposed to do the learning, and you're supposed to do the findings, figure out what you like, what you don't like. When you tweak this, oh, I like this. When you
See,
touch
and
this, oh,
this
I
is
like
why
that.
it's
I don't
so
like that.
good. This is why it's so good because I mean, for a lot of us, we are looking for external things to fulfill us, to make us satisfied, to make me like, oh, it's your job to make me happy. So in relationships and everything that's, happening to us, it's if we don't have that relationship with ourselves first, ain't nothing gonna flourish out here because we are
Seriously.
consistently looking, that's wrong, you didn't do this, that's so again, that's why having that relationship with yourself is going to be crucial, and that's going to set the tone for everything that's happening coming into you. Would you say that
Yes,
that's
absolutely. Yes. I'm a huge believer of that. I started, again, I can only speak from my experience. I started masturbating at the age of 16, I believe. And it was through a book. I read a book like this. We used to read a lot of romantic books, or eroticas, I should say. And it was through a book. And then, the lady was describing masturbation, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to try this. And when I tried it, I like, before then, I didn't even know what sex was about, or like, how sex is supposed to feel like. I've already had sex, but I didn't actually enjoy it. But when I started masturbating, I'm able to figure out, I like this, I don't like that. So I can communicate with my partner, and I can tell them what I like and what I don't like. Also, one of the things that comes into play is it's communication. When you're talking about these things, you have to talk about it with your partner, and your partner has to be understanding about it. If they're not, then I say they're not the one for you. But hey, what do I know?
hmm
Yeah.
okay, so this lots of stuff, lots of create, and again, my mind is like, I have so many questions, and I'm sure the people that are going to watch this are having lots of questions too. But again, um you know why is there a relationship between sex and food? Like, can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
You know what? My girl recently told me about, I didn't even know this until a few days ago, when I was masturbating, and then I was thinking about food at the same time. And she told me that the part of the brain that controls hunger or food
Mm-hmm.
is the same part that controls sex. And I'm like, whoa, like I was, all of a sudden I was craving for meat. And then
Mm-hmm.
she goes, you've been craving for the wrong, like you're not craving for actual meat, you're craving for the other meat. And I'm like, I didn't even know that, but thank you. But it's interesting. It's interesting because I mean, we talk about these things and learn as we go and figure it out.
So, okay, so this is amazing because again, this opens up a big door for me and the coaching and the women that I work with because again, we're so like we're taught to feel ashamed, we're taught to feel guilty, we're taught to feel like, oh, you can be happy and pleasurable and joyful and graceful.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's slutty, or it's bad to be like a sexual creature. And we're not talking going to sleep with anybody. We're not talking about any of that, but it's because our society is so like repress yourself, feel bad about yourself. Like they get
Yep.
off on that type of stuff. And again, coronavirus, this is another form where we're being controlled and told that we need to. So again, being rebellious is, dressing sexy and feeling like a girl and doing fun things. And like you said, masturbating, right?
Yes.
What better way to rebel than to, you know? So
uh, To me personally, I think everybody should just be themselves. Do not let anybody decide for you how you're supposed to live your life. It's your life, and if you let society decide dictate how you're supposed to live your life, then I don't think you're truly going to be happy. You know what I mean? You have to live your own life. Figure out what you want out of life. Figure out what you like and what don't like. Don't just follow the crowd. Be different. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be weird. um I believe that everybody's weird. We're all weird in our own ways. So I don't go about judging somebody else on what they do and how they live their lives. I don't think anybody else should do the same for me,
Yeah,
because it's up to you. Figure out what makes your heart beat and do that. Do exactly that. Yeah.
right. And so the other thing, of course, and again, you are, where are you from originally? Nigeria?
Girl, how long have we been friends and you don't know
No,
where?
I know. So just tell.
um,
I want you to share with
I'm,
the other
ori-
people. That's what I'm trying to get at here, girl.
I'm originally from Ghana. I moved
Yes.
to Canada, I think about when I was 14 or 13, one of those. It's been a long time, I don't remember. But again, when I came here, the whole, and growing up where I'm from, we don't talk about sex. Sex is like, it's something you're supposed to do in private, with your husband when the lights are off. And, it's basically for procreation. But
Exactly.
when I came here, or not even like, I think our generation is beginning to be, we're a little bit rebellious, I should say, because we don't do the exact same thing as our parents did. We're able to enjoy sex. However, there's a lot of people with a lot of trauma when it comes to sex, and they're not doing enjoying. I should say doing the things they're not supposed to be doing, but I should say they're not enjoying sex like we should. So we're here to have those conversations and just like talk about them and make it okay.
Yeah.
Like it really is okay to learn your body.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any shit about it, no stigma, like nothing. It's your body. You decide how you want to do it, or you decide how you want to, live your life and do
Right.
whatever it is that you want to do with your body. It's your
Yeah.
body.
And
Yeah.
so, like, again, kind of going into the work that I do with the women that I'm working with, a lot of it is, because I am indigenous, and we are a matriarchal society, right? So basically what that
Mm-hmm.
means is that we are the head of our people, our communities, we're
Mm-hmm.
the leaders. And a man knew that he could never know what a woman knew because, she basically was the next thing to God, right? So they believe if you want to look at God, you look at a woman because she's the only thing that can do what God does, which is to create and bring life.
Absolutely.
So it's a woman's responsibility to be giving birth and breathing life into everything around her. She is the home fire. She is that source of like strength, and all of what that represents is what a woman is. So when a woman is not living in that space, right? So creating, flowing, loving, nurturing, being like silly and giggly and laughy, she definitely is going to be bitter. She's going to be angry. She's going to be overweight. She's going to be repressing herself. And the thing is everybody knows if your woman ain't happy, ain't nobody else going to be happy,
Oh
right?
hell no. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
I absolutely think it's true, because I do believe that women do breathe life into our men. Just like everything else, like if they're broken, they turn to us. We nurture them and we nurture these babies. And yeah, we do everything that we're supposed to do. And however, there's still so much shame in today's society, shaming a lot of women, and I don't think that's correct. But it's mostly done by these men who have no idea what it feels like to be a woman, like who have no idea the thought process of a woman. They have no idea what it feels like to walk a day in a woman's body. But yet we have them in charge making these decisions for women, and which I don't think it's right. But again, I do believe that women breathe life into men. We do breathe life with everything around us. Like we are, I like what you used over there, that as in we are closer to God. And that is, I absolutely believe that is true. We are closer to God. And we're just amazing. We're just amazing creatures. Like
Yeah.
it's
See, and that's
Uh,
that's the funny thing about this, because again, I get to travel the world and I get to speak about being a wild woman and what that is. And literally people will be like, well, what is a wild woman? And I'm like, literally, she is a woman that gives no fucks about, societal
yep.
norms and being accepted and anything outside of herself, because she knows she is so close and walks with like holiness and godliness and with faith and
Hmm.
purpose and walks with, those intentions. And the thing is like there's such an imbalance between, feminine, masculine, ego, spirit. And that's the thing is, when we recognize as women the whether we're in a relationship, a bad relationship, a good relationship, we have the power to change that. It's just that we have to change ourselves in order to reflect
Yes.
that back to ourselves, right? So that's why it's so
Yes.
crucial to know what you like, know what you want, and if you're hurt and
Yep.
if you're broken and if you keep having the same stuff, it's like, dude, it's your responsibility to fix that. Like, ain't nothing going to change unless you change, right? And so that's the thing is, women need to, and men, right? So again, men,
Yeah.
yeah, like there's a balance that needs to be created, but it does need to be created with women first, right? And then we are the teachers to teach our men, this is how it's going to be in a most loving, harmonious way, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I actually agree with you and everything that you said. But I think also like with people in general,
Mhm.
if something is wrong with you, you know that whatever it is that you went through caused you some major trauma. Just it's okay to talk to somebody about it. But I do agree with you that women, we actually kind of like we don't like we fix everybody else but ourselves, like we're fixing our babies, we're fixing our men, but we don't take the time to figure out what it is that's causing us to be sad, or what it is that's causing us to be angry, upset, or not even enjoying sex. But I think it's okay to get like to speak with somebody about it. And when I say somebody, I mean a therapist, that will be able to like listen to you and not judge you, and be able to like put words to the feelings that you're having, and there shouldn't be any shame about it. I recently sought counseling, and I actually felt good, like, because I
Yeah.
have also been through some major traumas in my past life, and I had to talk to somebody about it. Unfortunately, my counselor was a man, so it was just the only person that I could get, because I mean, therapy is also quite expensive.
Mhm.
So he just happened to be a man, but however, I didn't think he got what I was trying to talk about.
Mhm.
He didn't quite. I mean, he did put some words to it. He made me feel a little bit better, but I think I would have been better if I was speaking with a woman. But it just wasn't, possible at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, that's why, again, the community that I've created, the coaching that I do, again, it is from a woman's perspective. It is in a
Hmm.
very spiritual, like you come into a space that's transformative, like when you can go to those places inside of yourself that are like, damn, I never realized that, because I've had abandonment issues, or, I had, sexual interference or whatever it was, like I felt like my worth was in my sexuality. If you're able to heal those sides of yourself, again, your reality is going to be very much different. And that's why I really love this podcast, because it shone a light, if that's a word,
Yes.
on
Yes.
the like scary, secretive, kind of controversial sides of ourselves that we don't talk about. And it's like, really, I'm normal because I think like that. So again,
It's not just you that's thinking like that. It's everybody that we have those thoughts. But before, every time I used to masturbate, I used to think that there was something, there's something wrong with me. There's this a certain kind of shame
mhm,
that's associated with it, and a certain kind of guilt that's associated with it.
yeah,
So it wasn't until when I started having these conversations, that's when I'm like, okay, it's quite okay for me to masturbate, and
yeah,
it shouldn't be a secret. I should be able to talk about it. Men do it all the time.
mhm,
They masturbate all the time, and we know that they masturbate.
yeah,
But there's no stigma. There's no stigma to that.
yeah,
Nobody's talking about that, trying to shame these men for doing what they do. So why should we have to be shamed whenever we masturbate, or why should we have to feel guilty when we're masturbating?
mhm,
And to me, I think we're just learning about our bodies and figuring out what we like. So just to
yeah.
improve our sexual health overall. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm sure you and I can talk about this all day. For people who want to know and listen to the podcast, where can they find it?
So you can find this podcast on all major podcast platforms. You can find it on what is it called? Spotify, Google, like everywhere. And also you can find it on anchor.com, and
Mhm.
you just type in slash hungry and horny. Yeah.
Okay. So, because my platform is basically to teach people how and what to do differently to kind of get them to the place where they want to be, and unfortunately I got to bounce off because I have another meeting, but give me 3 tips to the listeners that want to take control of their sexuality, they want to feel more pleasure, they want to use this stuff to really um, take back their lives and make it a little more joyful. What would your 3 top tips be to our people, women?
So to women, okay. So my tip will be, first is to masturbate. Again, I can't stress that enough. Masturbate, figure out what you like and what you don't like, learn about your body, and then you'd be able to teach your men how you like sex or how you want to be touched. Second, it's okay to get counseling. You know, if you've had some major trauma in your life, girl, get you the counselor and talk
I
about it.
literally wouldn't be where I am right now had I not been in therapy my whole life.
Yes,
Like, honestly,
yes.
therapy changes things. And going back to the masturbation thing, that's actually a requirement for my clients. So I'm
There
like,
you go.
girl. So what's
Yes.
the third point?
What is the third point? Is to just be you, be yourself. Do not let society dictate what your life is supposed to be, or how you're supposed to live your life. Just live your life guilt free. I mean, that is, it's so hard to do because there's so many judgment from even from other women. There's so much judgment and there's so much shame, but it's those who have the courage to live and to be themselves. That is the key to life, I think. But hey, what do I know? I'm still trying to figure it out. So
Well,
we'll
I
see.
mean, we're all doing our best with what we know. But again, having conversations like this and having amazing people like you in my life that are willing to, step out and be courageous and have these type of conversations, like, it's a big freaking deal. So, I mean, hats off to you for, taking that idea that we have and just,
Thank
because
you.
when I saw that, I was like, damn, she did it. I was kind of sad because he didn't do it with me, but I'm like,
It's
can't do
okay.
it all. So,
Listen, you can be a guest on it. I think I've told you this so many times, and we've
yeah.
been looking forward to diversify the
Mhm,
podcast and try to reach different people.
mhm.
And I feel like the only way we can tackle these topics is when we talk about it. So
Yeah,
you can, by all means, be
yeah,
a guest on the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
If you want to be a guest on it, just reach out to me, and then we'll make it happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And again, to anybody that's out there, again, being a wild woman is, having harmonious relationships. It's having an amazing, relationship with yourself when it comes to, self love, know what I want, know what I need, all of those things. So again, this is why having this type of conversation is important to me, because for the people that I serve and the people that I'm trying to, help them to get the life that they're really wanting, you may be overlooking this real big small piece that you need to really, really delve into to actually have and create lasting results. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, Martina. How can people get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me on Facebook, or you can follow the Hungry and Horny ads on Instagram, and you can send me a DM. I will reply. I would be able to give you a shout out.
And just so you know, I actually wrote a very controversial chapter in my book, and we'll talk a little bit more about that maybe on the podcast, because I think it's
Okay,
gonna be so good.
it's
But
gonna
I'm
be so
gonna
good.
save what it's called for that, because again, it's very controversial and I like it. So thank you again so much for being on this live or this Zoom with me.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it so much. I mean, we've been talking about trying to find the time to do this, to make this happen. However, I'm
And
so
one,
happy we did it.
it's
In spite of the technical difficulties we had earlier on, I'm so happy that we talked about it.
and I'm
So
coming to see you too. So I love you so much. Thank you again, and yeah, people out there, reach out to her because she's amazing, and listen to the damn podcast. So have a good
Thank
day.
you.
See
You
you.
too.
Bye.
Bye.